When I say your name, please state your full name and your location where you're joining us from. Fred? Fred, you're muted. Sorry.
Fred Edison at home here in Kalamazoo.
Kyle?
Kyle Hibbert from my home in Kalamazoo.
Regina?
Regina Gorham at my home in Kalamazoo.
Catherine?
Catherine White at my home in Kalamazoo.
Lene?
She's not here yet. Oh, she is.
No, Lene. Yeah, Lene's here. Yeah, I thought she joined us.
Lene Powell Wilson at home in Kalamazoo.
And I'm Josh Koenig, and I'm in my office in Kalamazoo at WMU. Okay, approval of agenda. Are there any additions, amendments?
No, I have no changes.
Pam?
I do have a short verbal report on O'Connor Fund grant making for you.
Okay, we'll just, instead of no report, we'll add that to B1.
Yeah.
Cool. Any other additions or amendments? Okay, can I get a motion to approve as amended?
I motion to approve as amended.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Introduction of guests. So we have a few tonight. Dorla, we will start with you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dorla Bonner, excuse me, I can say my name. I am the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for the City of Kalamazoo.
Thank you for joining us. Tanessa?
Hello, everyone. I'm Tanessa Patterson. I work with Dorla Bonner and the Department of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for the City of Kalamazoo, and I am the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Specialist.
Thank you. And Pam?
Pam O'Connor, volunteer.
All right.
Hi, Dorla.
I think that's everyone. Okay. Citizen comments on non-agenda items and correspondence. Are there any citizen comments at this point in time?
No, there are no citizen comments right now.
Okay. Any other comments from guests? Okay. All right, so getting into the agenda, joining us tonight, as we kind of got with the introductions, are Dorla and Tanessa. And as you all know, and probably as many people who kind of sit in on our meetings know, over the past several months, we've been talking about expanding diversity, equity, and inclusion, and kind of re-envisioning historic preservation in Kalamazoo to broaden what that means, to bring into the fold a lot of people and a lot of groups who have been left out based off of at least the federal definitions of historic and how the regulations work in terms of the National Register. And, you know, we've been reconceptualizing this and talking about this for quite some time now. And joining us tonight are Dorla and Tanessa, who are hopefully, you know, are going to talk to us a little bit about what our options are, what maybe we should be doing, how the Historic Preservation Commission can fit into the city's mission of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and, you know, hopefully begin to formulate a game plan of how we go about doing this. Really with this tonight, you know, as everybody knows, this is my last meeting. So I'm going to hand it over to Sharon and Dorla and Tanessa, and just let y'all go, because I openly support this idea in this project. So.
There you go.
Everything all right, Sharon?
Yeah, it is. Sorry about that.
Okay.
I just had to think for a minute.
Okay.
I worked with Dorla in community planning and economic development, and we just had a good time together, talking through all sorts of things. And when she got this job as our diversity, equity, and inclusion director, there couldn't be anybody better than that, because she knows Kalamazoo already. She knows the city, she knows our challenges, she knows where we're trying and where we're lacking. And I think that having her feedback, we might be planning what we might want to do, how the HPC could fit into larger plans that are starting. And just, I get the feeling that everybody in Kalamazoo, from TRHT to SHARE to the Urban Alliance, everybody, we're all trying to head in the same direction, but we're not united in any way. And that's probably good, because I think that there should be a lot of voices in this. But I think the HPC would like very much to be part of that. And one of the things we have discussed is some sort of, historical marker program that does not rely on either federal state standards for deciding what's historic or not. Something that fits to our community, and getting more diversity on our board itself, so that we have more people from different backgrounds and experiences that can help us guide preservation, so that it is something that actually supports everybody in the community, that impacts everybody in the community, not just the people who happen to think that old houses are pretty cool. So I just, I'm going to let Dorla take it, and whatever you want to say, and just give us some ideas.
Thank you, Sharon, for those very cool comments. I need to carry your with me when I'm being challenged, so I feel better. Like, God, I'm a cheerleader.
Yes.
And thank you all for coming. For inviting Tanessa and I. And I also want to thank you all for adding diversity, equity, inclusion to your plan. You are my champion commission, right? Committee, right? Your commission, all the boards commission, because you've already started it. I don't want to just ramble, because this is such a huge topic that I want to stay focused. So just a little background on what we're doing in the department and what our goals are. So brand new, started last February, the best of times and the worst of times. And so we ended up doing a lot of stuff last year externally. This position mostly focus is on internally, and that includes our boards and commissions and how we can become diverse, equitable, and inclusive as a practice, as a part of our way of doing business, not as events. I have this phrase I learned at the Equity Council conference a couple years ago, and anybody knows me knows what I'm getting ready to say. Transactions versus transformation. We do a lot of transactions, but nothing changes. And so I'm all about taking our time, thinking things through, connecting the dots, connecting groups, connecting departments, so we can move. Like Sharon was talking about, everybody's doing the same thing, but I like us to at some point go the same way together and be more impactful. And so when it comes to you all, I think it's a fascinating concept to bring diversity, equity, and inclusion, because this is something that people of color don't necessarily even talk about. Or, it's just not, and I don't know why. I'm not going to even gauge, but we're not included in the conversations. We don't. It's just a very almost, and this is not negative, and this is from my perception, kind of elitist. It reminds me of environmental concerns, because I had this conversation with them, and I said, well, you're talking about this air and people trying to get the lead out their house, so y'all not on the same page, but it's still environmental. So I think this is exciting to do. So I want to do a couple of things. I want to talk about your recruitment. And Sharon did send us an recruitment announcement.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anybody can pull it up, but I've looked at it a couple times.
That's item A in your packet, everybody, in today's agenda.
And I just want to one of the things I'm finding out about our commissions, because most of our commissions across the city, boards and commissions, are pretty homogeneous. They just are. And so, and I know from the boards that I've been on, usually when there's an opening, you ask members to recruit somebody. And so if you recruit somebody, you usually recruit somebody who looks like you. So if it's already homogeneous and then the people go and self, do the personal recruitment and please, I'm not criticizing. I'm just a very honest and practical person. That way I say what I say and I can say it again, so I'm not political. That's the word. I'm polite, but not political. And so a couple of things that when you look at your job description, it sounds like you already have to really know a lot. And we were talking, and you really don't. You have to have an interest. And don't feel bad because almost all of them look that way because of how we describe them. And, I think, there's some, I'm reading it again. There's one I saw that said just have an interest, but it's locked up in the middle of all of those other details. So if I was a person that like old houses, I don't know if I would know that meant me. I wouldn't assume that meant me. So, I think just a softening of your language and then becoming more inviting in the language. Like you can start off, if you really like old houses and you like history, this may be the place for you. This is what we do. We'll train you to do what we do, but you come on, because you're what we need. Come hang out with us, but soften it. And then the other thing that I've been talking to groups about, and trust me, I think I'm pretty smart, but I'm not as brilliant as I sound sometimes. I just read a lot and hang out with really a lot of smart people. Then I think and forget to give people credit for it. So it sounds like it's my deal. So just my 2-cent disclaimer. Make sure if you have a group of people who have the expertise in this, and then you invite somebody that doesn't have the expertise, then you have to determine how to be welcoming. So if they come and you all start throwing out, oh gosh, our last mayor used to get us about acronyms, and I worked for I did federal funding. So, all the government does is have acronyms. We just have all the alphabets but Z. And I spoke in acronyms until he stopped me. So if I come in a meeting because I'm interested in historical things and I'm interested in buildings, but I don't know details, and you all get in an excited conversation with acronyms and historic talk, you may not be able to keep that person because they won't feel welcome. When I started hiring people when I was doing the HUD programs, when Sharon and I were neighbors, the first thing I would give them is a list of acronyms, just in case I forget. I would tell them, please stop me if I start sounding like the alphabet, because they're real words. I just don't want to use them all because it's time consuming. But so you want to think about how to become welcoming and how to integrate folks. One meeting I was at, and we were talking about this with some national group I'm in, they were actually talking about, we were talking about boards and commissions and diversifying them. And they were talking about making sure a new member had a mentor, a buddy that they can text, like, what does that mean? So they, even in, how y'all like me, y'all sit in these meetings, you look intelligent, but you have no idea what they're talking about. You shake your head, a person will only do that so many meetings before they leave. Mm-hmm. If they knew that there was somebody that they can text during the meeting, excuse me, and say, what did that mean? And that way they can participate. And so somebody gave, I'm trying to be diplomatic here, said a really crazy thing to me the other day about things of race and diversity. It'll just evolve. They don't evolve, or else we wouldn't be in the situation we are in our country today. It's intentional. When you want things to change, it has to be intentional. So, do you have an onboarding plan when people come on? Do you have an onboarding plan? Can you add onboarding maintaining diversity in your onboarding plan. So you don't have to think about it every time. And one of the things this one speaker said in this one group I was in, he said, before you diversify, become welcoming. Don't practice when the people get there. Already have a plan. I see you, Pam, because that's what we do. We get there like, oh, we got to figure this out. And now you got to just think about it. You got to do work and figure it out. Welcome, train, do work. Something's going to get lost. Something's going to get lost. So that's my spiel about the job description. Oh, no, not quite yet. One more thing. How do you recruit? So I'm working on a list I gave Sharon. I think that's
Yeah, you gave me the list, and Christina says she has all the contacts for me to go with the list you gave me.
Yeah.
So
it's very intentional. So we when we revised our civil rights ordinance last year, and we seated a civil rights board, very intentional on how we recruited. You know, we did the typical stuff. You know, you put it on the website, you post it you do all that stuff. But then I went to people I knew in agencies. Like I went to the Hispanic El Concilio. I went to the ministerial. I went specific. I knew what we needed. I went to legal forums, but we were very specific in our outreach to increase our chances of actually having a diverse board that had to hear cases of a diverse population. Because if we're not diverse, when they look on the website and, you know, go to our Zoom meetings and here we are, a civil rights board, and we're homogeneous, I mean, it's already off. And we want people to not, you know, believing starts with what you see. And if it doesn't look right, you can forget about trying to prove it. And so, you know, go be intentional, make some alliances with folks outside of your group, with some of those city groups, the groups in the city that could help you get a diverse sector. And it's not just about race, it's age, it's gender, it's all of it. You know, I've taken race stuff off of my stuff because diversity exceeds, it is larger than race. But if you don't be right by race, you'll never get the rest of it right. So I have to throw that in. So, but I don't want people to just think it's about race. There's a lot of things like, I don't know how many, we have 50% of our community is considered low to very low income. We don't have those folks represented, and it's hard to get them because, like right now, if you're low income and you have a family, you don't have time to come to a meeting at 6 o'clock because you're feeding people.
Well, I've got a question for you, Dorla. Do you think those folks might be more likely to be interested if we kept at least a hybrid so that they wouldn't have to get in the car, drive, find a parking place, all that sort of stuff? Do you think that would be?
I think hybrids, I'm pushing for hybrid because, but I also say you could be creative and have subcommittees where people don't have to come all the time.
Yes, okay.
That way I could do, you know, once every couple of months, I could do some for this thing, but I can't admit to this long thing. If you tell me we're going to do this and I need some people, and then what you're doing is building a base. So when there are availability changes, now you have people who are more likely to be a board member because you've already connected with.
So sort of like a trial run. You know, they work with us on a project, decide whether they'd like to be involved more, whether they can make the time to do more, and then we could get them on board. We do have some subcommittees that have non-commissioner members on. So that's something that we have done in the past. We don't have any active ones right now that include non-commissioners, but it's just, well, we have Pam's, yeah. Yeah, Pam's in the middle of everything.
I was going to say, we do have Pam.
Yeah.
And technically, I mean, the reservation in public education, that's I'm the only commissioner present on that one. So,
I mean, so there are ways to do it. but you have to, look at, you gotta think about who could we benefit from learning from as we sit at this table? Whose voices do we need for what our vision is? So that's my spiel about recruitment. Tanessa, you want to add anything?
The only thing that, and I think Dorla and we spoke about this briefly, in regards to just overall verbiage of the recruitment, the advertisement, just words you choose to use. And this is just one word, just kind of as an example, but using administration, that is a buzzword for us here in the city and people who have that background. But when you say administration to me, if I don't have that background, who is that? Who encompasses administration? So it would be better, to say something in regards to city leadership, just using a more descriptive word of the folks who this board advises would be helpful. Another word that I found in the advertisement that I felt would definitely be a good one to maybe just using the word, just initiate inventorying. I'm trying to make this as readable for everyone as possible, especially if we're working more towards assisting and giving people the opportunity, even though you don't need to come and know things, we're willing to teach. So we're trying to make that so that it's as readable and straightforward as possible, and no one needs to ask additional questions.
Yes, ma'am, Pam.
Perhaps the word inventorying could be changed.
That was my third word, Pam. Thank you.
Just as I look through this, I see a lot of stuff that we all know.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else in the world probably doesn't.
Yeah.
I worked at a public housing commission, and I worked a lot with the residents, and you get everybody in the public housing. I mean, you get people who never went to school to people with PhDs. It was amazing. One thing they taught us when I was in training with housing and urban development, we were talking about marketing. They said, never use more than 2 syllables. 8th grade reading level is 2 syllables or less. So I never write. And then it was funny, I did that for like 2 years. And I came here and I remember my supervisor asked me to write a high level document. I'm like, is high level more than 2 syllables? Because I don't know. I mean, because I've disciplined myself. I only write 2 syllables or less. That is generally, I'm told, an 8th grade reading level, which is the general reading level of most people. Yeah. And so you just have to be careful. And so I had to discipline myself to write to other people to sound like I was smart in my writing. Mm-hmm. Now talking is cool, but I'm like, I got to use 3 syllables. Do I even know any 3-syllable words anymore? But it's simpler than we think it is. We just don't think. Does that make sense?
That's the basic idea of make sure that you're using the vocabulary that your audience has. And it's better to aim low than aim high. Right. You want people to understand what you're trying to say. I had this huge debate on a Facebook page a couple of days ago because they were making fun of people who were misspelling. And I said, every single word in that sign for the vegetable stand was misspelled, but I knew what they meant. And that's what really matters is, are you reaching the people that you were trying to reach? And so this is good. I'm going to look at this.
And no disrespect to anybody. People take it like it's no disrespect. I only want one advertisement. I don't want to have an advertisement, 4 different advertisements for 4 different populations. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No disrespect. It's not minimizing anybody's abilities, disrespecting anybody's ability, recognizing that we all have different abilities. That's what we're doing, is we recognize that, we're respecting that. And we want you at the table. So I need you to be able to read what I'm inviting you to. Okay, so that's that part. What's the other project we were talking about, Sharon?
Markers, historical markers for Kalamazoo or whatever. Actually, you know, I know that Michelle Johnson has been working on this wonderful cultural landscapes project, and that sounds absolutely fascinating. And what I would like to see for the commission is a way for us to participate in that, maybe to manifest it in a physical way. Whichever direction they're heading, we'd like to be part of that. The part that seems easiest to me is to set up our own Kalamazoo historical marker program with our own criteria for what we think is important. And for example, for those of you who are not National Register familiar, if you're listed on the National Register, there has to be a building left. But some of our most important historic sites in Kalamazoo for non-white people, there's not a building left that marks that spot. But that spot is still important. For example, the colored school that we had in Kalamazoo was located near the rail lines. None of the other schools were located right next to the railroad tracks, but they put it right next to the railroad tracks because that's where they had an empty plot of land they could use. You know, so the place is important, not just the fact that it existed. That's why I think the historical markers speak to the place, even if the physical building is no longer in existence. And that's one of the standards that's used both at the national level. Our state historical marker program isn't quite as specific as that, but they need something to tie it with. They need a place to tie it to. We've got people historical markers in Kalamazoo. We've got places like there's one down near the Three Ponds that's about celery farming. So that's an area and an
site.
A site. It's a site, right? Exactly. But so I'd love to see some kind of program that we could initiate and get started to mark all the places that have not been marked. But not all of them, but many of them.
And that's something that you and I, Sharon and I, have been talking about over the years.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that excites me because I'm not a Kalamazoo native, but I have a lot of friends who've been here forever, and they talk about different things that happen at different places and how nobody respects it or knows it. And I think that would be such a novel ideal. And this is the kind of thing that's a good subcommittee project. To get a diverse group of people to flesh out the ideal. And I heard y'all got some funding to start it, but I believe we can find funding from arts councils or something, especially in this season. If you're going to do something around recognizing the diversity, respecting the diverse and rich history of your own community. But that would be an amazing project. I would be on board to support it because I think this Kalamazoo is just, I've lived in a lot of cities, and Kalamazoo is really different when it comes to the minority populations and how scattered they are, and how that just you could tell that there has been such a lack of respect for the contributions that they've made over the years. In some ways, it feels heavier here than other communities I lived in. Don't ask me why. I keep saying someday I'm gonna get my PhD, and that'll be my research project. Then I think I have to go to school and pay for it, so I changed my mind. So if anybody wants to do it, I'll support it, because it's going to be a fascinating study. What happened in Kalamazoo differently than what happened in some other communities. But I think in a time where we are trying to elevate everybody and to make sure that everybody, it's one thing to say Black Lives Matter, and then we don't do anything differently to show that Black Lives Matter, just to use that phrase. We're quick to roll it off your tongues. And I told, at the city, I was talking to some of the leaders that I don't want y'all to say it because we don't have a plan how to make it real. And I don't like to lie. So I didn't say it. I don't say it much because I don't know how to make it matter. I like to do stuff, I like to be tangible. And so, but you wouldn't just do Black, you would just do different ethnicities, diverse populations that have not been recognized. It could be simple. Like we were talking about Allen Chapel, that that's the oldest, I think it's the oldest Black church in the city, and can't recognize it because they changed something.
Right. Well, it's the
Okay.
oldest congregation in the city, the oldest Black congregation, but they bought a church that was built in 1918 and they didn't buy it till 1980. I think it should be eligible.
I'm not sure it wouldn't be, and I'm not sure who said they thought it might not be.
Todd.
Bob who?
Todd Walsh.
Todd Walsh. You know, I come from a long line of people who believe that if you write the story correctly, that you can make anything National Register nomination. And in fact, at last year's National Trust meeting, I sat in on 2 different sessions where they talked about doing exactly that. When you tell the full story, there are a lot more options that open up. If you don't limit it to just the people or just the building, there are ways to do that. Could I make a comment at this point? Would that be okay, Josh, Dorla?
Yeah, absolutely.
Under the designation part of the Preservation Commission's work plan, the number 1 item is to, and I'm gonna use a couple of acronyms, so get ready.
Okay.
Number 1 is work to create a citywide context statement for missing history, the history of BIPOC and women in Kalamazoo, which could be then used as an integral part of surveys or identifying historic places and sites, and perhaps National Register and or local designation.
I like, yes.
And I think that's right up the alley here. And fortunately for Kalamazoo, we have a really, really good example that was completed in Detroit a couple of weeks ago, beginning with civil rights history. It didn't try to be all-inclusive because Detroit is so huge, but civil rights history is so important in that city. And in conversations, I don't know if Sharon's had a chance to talk with the State Historic Preservation Office, but not only is this kind of activity, does it fall within the purview of the Preservation Commission, but the state would be willing to help us do that. And one of the most important parts of it was to assemble a group of local people that represented the parts of those missing histories and take their advice and listen to their histories and then make decisions based on what we are limited to. But again, I think it's wider open than we think in terms of exposing that history and doing designations if that's appropriate, or if it's not, doing the markers that Sharon was talking of, that is just our own program, not a state or a national program. That would be, I think it would be great. I think it would be great. I'm not going to say anything more than that. And I think we have the beginnings of the people who are in the THRT group at the Community Foundation. I think there are lots of people there that might be willing to join us in helping to get that accomplished, because I guess we can't, the preservation, I keep saying we, I guess the Preservation Commission can't really do anything that doesn't fall within its ordinance, right? But all of this does.
Yes.
Completely.
Everything does. Yep. Yep. Just for those of you who aren't preservationists, a context statement is basically the idea, you just kind of write the background story so that, you know, you talk about when the first formerly enslaved people came to Kalamazoo, or the Harrises who were not enslaved as far as we know back into their history, all that kind of stuff. And then you would kind of write the history in the background, and then you'd be able to say, okay, the Harris farmstead fits on this history here. The Van Avery drugstore fits on this history here. So it's just kind of a background piece that can be used for a multitude of purposes. The State Preservation Office about 10 years ago did one for schools in the state of Michigan.
Yeah.
How the buildings were built, why they were built, the different systems they were built under, that kind of thing. So this is like a really broad statement. And I could see pursuing something like a context statement almost either at the same time as or following the first few trial markers to see how that goes and how we include people to get them involved in the project. Sometimes people can get very excited about a project that ends up with a physical object at the end. And it's a little harder to wrap their minds around the idea of a context statement that's just going to be kind of a history, because we're manifesting, like you said, Dorla, we're manifesting something now that's real. We've got a sign on this property that says what this used to be, that anybody walking by can see it. Although I like the idea that Dan had of engraving it into the sidewalk, because everybody's walking around looking at their phones anyway, and they might see it and read it when they're walking over it.
Oh, Pam, that's exciting. Thank you for sharing that. It seems like, or it doesn't seem like, it's obvious that you have the basis and the structure within your own policies to do some exciting things.
Yeah.
And we are willing to support it any way we can. We right now are an office of two.
So can I make a comment or suggestion?
Renee.
So and I totally agree everything you're saying, Dorla, because including I can't quite put my finger on why Kalamazoo is the way Kalamazoo is. I'm from Chicago and I've been here 10 years. So yeah, I'm still getting the side eye on what's really going on here. But I think I also agree with, we do need to do something. And we're not just here talking about just the African American community. There's a lot of communities here. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the African American community is probably one of the largest, besides the American Indian population that has that ethnic history here in Kalamazoo. But I think the biggest thing we need to do at this time, and I think that is what the question I'm asking Dorla and Tanessa to help with, is how do we get to the community? Because we can sit here all day and think about all the things that we feel is important in that community, but we need to hear it from them, because I'm pretty sure there are going to be some other landmarks or memories that we didn't even know, okay? Because I know, being African American, we keep a lot of things to ourselves. We don't publicize it. That's how we're raised. And so there are some things that probably happened in the Black community as far as being historical and things that people would like to know. But unless you sit down and talk to them about it, they're not going to volunteer it. I do know that this is some of the Underground Railroad. It came through here, mm-hmm. and there are some houses still standing, I believe, mm-hmm. that that still have the remnants of what happened then. But the problem is, again, if it is owned or occupied by an African American person, they're not going to volunteer that. So you got to sit them down and get them to talk and get them to communicate. So my question to Dorla is, if you could help us get there, okay? Because again, we don't want to waste time and coming up with different things, because we don't know. That's what we think is important, and it may or may not be important to them. So if you could help us with that, how do we get going on sitting down with some leaders and some historians, if you will, who can talk to us about what is important and how do we set that up?
Okay, that's a great question. And when you were talking, my brain went to, do people even know y'all here? Seriously. So before you can invite a person to your house, they got to know you got a house or where you live.
Yep.
So part of the dilemma is, how do you make yourself known to the community and what you already do, because you do valuable stuff. Even though it may be obvious, especially when people start seeing it, say, wait, there's no diversity in the stuff. But at least they know you're there. So what is it publicity? Because it's not quite marketing because you're not selling anything yet. Do you have a plan to, no, I know you don't, that's not the question. You need a plan to let the people know that you're here and what you do.
And I think that's probably 100% of the problem. There is no plan, but we don't have a plan because we don't know what we need. And so I think the first thing to do is to find out what is the need and where is it? Because I can't tell you what I'm going to sell if I don't know what I got.
But that's not the plan. I'm talking about a plan just to let the community know that you are here and what you do. So then when you get a plan that outreach and to talk to people, they have some connection to who you are.
So this is what I was thinking, was that starting with, a few trial markers and doing some publicity around those might draw people in who have other stories to tell. It'd be kind of like, this is what we're starting. We need lots of other people to help. And I'm not talking about writing the stories. I'm talking about just talk to us about places that are important. Every time I work over at precinct 7 and 9 over in the Douglas Community Association, I just meet all sorts of people that have wonderful stories, and I absolutely love hearing them. But I would like to, maybe that would be a way to kind of start the outreach, as well as working with, Share and TRHT and everybody else that's doing such great work, and maybe even the gay community. There's a lot of sites in the community that were LGBTQ sites. There's there was a whole Latvian neighborhood for a while. There was an Italian neighborhood where all the Italians lived, so we've got all these things. So we've got a very, I'm trying to think about what you say. We've got a overgrown path to discover and to unearth it and to bring it out to the light and let it blossom and be part of our community again.
And I agree with both of you. I agree with you, Lene, that we need a plan and we need to touch people. I agree with you, Sharon, that would be a good way to start. But I want to add that you can tell your story now because you are doing things. How did I got close to Sharon when I volunteered to do what did you do?
The Hidden Kalamazoo tour.
Kalamazoo. I've only been here, I think 11 years now. So that was early. And I got interested in this because I was, plus it gave me a chance to act for free because I like to act. But it was exciting to be a part of something without a long commitment. But it was exposure to what you all do. So I think all of those things can happen. The problem with the sharing with yours, it's still going to take a while to do.
Yes.
The same thing with Lynette, finding these folks. We got a group that we can touch, but you have a list of things you've done. Right?
Yeah, and I agree there are some things that have been done, but I'm going to go back to a couple of your original statements.
Mm-hmm.
The things that have been done may not be impactful to the people you're trying to reach. The things we've done, clean the grave sites, well, unless you're cleaning specifically on the Black neighborhood, that's not going to do anything for me. The things we've done is we've done the award ceremony. Well, they didn't come on the north side and they didn't do anything. This is, I'm talking out loud of how a person of color is thinking.
No,
so we haven't done anything that is impactful for them.
Right.
Oh, how?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, how?
That's how we found you today.
I'm gonna tell you, but see, and that I knew we was gonna go there. You can't look at me because I'm a little different, okay? Because I understand and how to hang in there, okay? The average Black person, they don't get it. You're like,
Well,
why are you doing this?
I said,
So-
and.
I'm sorry.
I said, and. It's not, there's no one, you have to have a multifaceted, layered approach to bring-
Understood. That's what I'm saying. The things, how, well, yeah, it's a great program, but I'm a pretty much guarantee that's not going to interest them. I'm going to tell you the things that they are interested in and stuff that impacted them, such as that if we can find out where that underground railroad house is, that they will be all on top of that. That's what's impactful for them. I'm just saying. Or if you can find that Italian neighborhood and that one place, that is what's going to draw them in.
I agree. But then this is one of the reasons I say and is because you need to show that you have some history doing stuff.
True.
That's what I'm saying. Tell what you're doing. So people don't think you just some novice that's trying to get over on people and make yourself important because you looking at their stuff, which is not unusual with marginalized populations. Somebody else comes in and makes their stuff famous, but the people who it's about never get anything. So you want to show that you have a history doing things because you care about this community and you care about the history of our community. And then, so people, I'm just saying that so people will have some trust in your purpose, even if they don't see themselves. At least they know you're not from Detroit trying to make some money off of.
So what we have already accomplished, the projects that we have begun and worked on and completed, is kind of like our track record for people. So they can say, oh, well, yeah, I went to the Hidden Kalamazoo tour, or yeah, I was, I've read the Kalamazoo Lost and Found book, that kind of thing. And so they can see that we have a track record. We've been in the community for well over 50 years now. Since 1965, this commission was founded, and so now we're just kind of spreading out. So.
Right. And it's a constant phase of trial and error, trying to find your sweet spot and what works for us, and being in it for the long haul. And some of this stuff is so simple, like Neil, our IT, our PR person, he makes great 2-minute videos and stuff. And Sharon, you were in a YouTube video.
Two, yeah.
And I think it's just, and you just do it, knowing that the return on your investment it may not be great for that, but maybe it's just in my head that you did it. I don't see myself. It's in my head that you exist, and then you come out, well, I'm trying to do something that is representative of my group. But I know that you're in my head because I saw your video. That's what I'm saying. Now you're in my head right now. You're not in nobody's head.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to start getting in people's head. So, it's like, invite me to be on your board and I've never heard of you. I'm just not that interested if I've never heard of you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so those are just ideas. Trust me, I'm not an expert. I'm a thinker, and I'm always thinking. Like when I finish this, I'll be real brilliant when this video goes off. I'll just be sharing emails in the middle of the night, so I won't forget.
That's perfect. Perfect.
May I ask a question before things wrap up for Tanessa and Dorla? It seems to me like some of the first couple of contacts we should be making, whether it's the subcommittee for designation or Sharon or whoever, that's for them to decide. But one should be Michelle and the Truth and Racial Healing team, Cher, the new executive director there, and the tribe, the Gun Lake tribe. I mean, if in fact this is going to be a broad thing and we have an Indian mound in the middle of Brownson Park, we should probably try to cover that, right? At some point with a context statement or a history.
Pam, the mound's already being worked on. I can report more on that. So.
Okay,
Yeah.
but it still should be part of any context that's written. We shouldn't just start it when enslaved people moved to Kalamazoo, just like we shouldn't start it when the white guys moved in and started sectioning off property, right?
No, I just mean some of the work's been done.
Right,
So.
right.
We can start with a little bit of what has been written.
Yeah, we will not be starting from scratch for any of this stuff. It's there.
Right.
We just have to pull it together and illustrate it more, illuminate it more.
Are there individuals at those organizations, or are there other organizations like the neighborhood organizations that we should be reaching out to?
Yep, I gave Sharon a whole list of their.
Yep.
Oh, that's what that list was. Okay, that's great.
As we go, we're working, and I'm working on a more streamlined engagement process that we don't have to reach out to people every time. So I'm working on something that will help us all.
Cool. Excellent. You're transformational.
Hard to do this. What'd you say, Sharon?
You said you're working on something transformational.
I am.
So we don't have to do individual transactions each time.
And if I could get this done, I'm gonna take a 2-week vacation in the other room.
So it sounds to me like the commission should be talking about setting up a subcommittee to kind of hash out both recruitment. Maybe that should be a separate one for recruitment, and then a separate one for just for something to call it for right now, the marker program. And just start working on processes and what we want to do there. I would like to get, when Josh leaves after this meeting, we will have 2 openings on the commission. And so I'd like to get the recruitment, get that ready to go so we can get it out and get some new people on board soon. We did work through it, and we can actually recruit people who live outside the city to be on the Historic Preservation Commission. We will have up to 2 openings in that out of town category, beginning when Josh leaves. So we would be able to, if we got lucky enough to recruit someone from the Matcha-Beneshawish, we could actually, if they were interested, they could actually come on board with that.
And don't forget young people.
Oh, yes.
Don't forget young people.
I have a quick comment too. I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you so much, Dorla and Tanessa. That was fantastic. And I learned a lot and wrote lots of notes here. But one of the things that struck me was the practicality of the description of the commission and recruitment. Of course, there's a lot to be done in maybe rewriting that. And I like your suggestions for really simplifying and making that much more inviting. But I also wonder, you said, again, the practicality of this meeting time, 6 to 8 p.m. Yeah, you're right. That probably is a hard time for some people to meet. That even if we have a really fantastic recruitment letter and we do a great job, that could prohibit many people from coming and from joining the board.
Yeah.
I don't know, and forgive me because I'm new to this board still too, but is there flexibility there? Is there a way that we could try to?
We used to meet at 7. We used to meet at 7.
Just like
We met at both 7 and 6, I think, in the years that I've been on.
Yeah.
Just wondering if there's a way that we could find out, what would be a better time? Is it and consider changing that? Because again, if we want to be really serious about recruitment and diversifying the board, the practicality of the meeting time is probably a good place to start too.
Yep. Well, the board, the commission is in control of our meeting time. All we need to do is make it an action item, vote on it with a roll call vote, and then we just let the clerk know when we're meeting and what time we're meeting at. There's also the question of what facility we're meeting in, because we're probably.
I was going to say we get bumped for other commissions, so that's actually why we ended up moving the day that we're on and the time. Because we got bumped by different groups. So technically we can do whatever we want, but sometimes there's strings.
I think maybe as Sharon said, like there's a recruitment subcommittee. I'm sure that could be a topic, but I just, again, want to say thank you to Tanessa and Dorla and just ask that question, but something to explore perhaps.
Are there any other last questions or comments for Dorla or Tanessa?
Thank you both.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Pleasure
You're
to be
welcome.
here.
I
Really,
will be sending you emails.
please do, and I'm excited. I'm gonna use you guys as an example when I go talk to other boards. I'm like, let me tell you what they doing. I'm gonna roll my head and point up, I'm gonna do the whole attitude thing. All right, have a great evening.
Thank you.
Too.
Thanks again.
Bye.
You too.
Tanessa.
Okay, moving to the financial report. Lene. Lene, you're muted.
My goodness, this technology is too much.
I know, right?
Okay, so what I did was I just Sharon graciously, thank you very much, sent me some additional documents showing the 2015 and 2016 actuals along with the 2015 budget. And so I just updated the grid to show, the difference. The biggest thing was like at 2015, they budgeted a certain amount and but the actuals were significantly more in some categories. I was like, wow. But in any case, I pretty much kept the budget for 2022 the same as what we discussed last time. I did bump up the education and training. I bumped up because I think we did $75 a person times 7 or something. And so that went up to $600 for the budget for that. But pretty much I kept everything the same. And then I took off the O'Connor Fund because again, that's not technically the commission's management or monitoring.
It's not part of the budget. It's
right.
It's kind of overseen at one level by the commission, but it's not part of our annual budget.
Right. And what I'll do is if we have to pull from the O'Connor Fund or if we give to the O'Connor fund, I will add a line for that. But their whole budget I didn't put in here.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, this is what we have. Are there any questions?
I don't have any.
And
thank you. It's way better than we've had in a long time. So thank you.
Any comments or suggestions I need to fix or anything?
I don't have any.
Okay, so what I'll do is I think Cheeseman is my contact now, and I will contact her to see and forward this to her and submit it for her to at least look at it. I know it's not a final approval, but just to look at it and make sure I didn't miss something.
No, I think that's great.
Yeah.
Any questions or comments for Lene? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Looks great.
Moving to action items, diversity and inclusion. I know we just had a big talk about, a big chunk of that. Are there any general questions? I mean, obviously you're going to want to have this on the agenda for next month, but before we move to Regina, any other comments? Okay, Regina.
Hello. I guess it's not a comment, but I can, I've been talking with Michelle Sharon. We ran into each other at my first time eating in a restaurant when we were both at Food Dance. So I've actually physically seen her in person, but I can talk to her about coming, and talking with everyone. Oh, Howie had to come in here because I'm talking. So we had a meeting this week to talk through the mound. I guess now that concerts have been happening in the park again, people have been fielding a lot of questions at the Arts Council because the decision was made to not mow the mound. And that was a decision made with the tribe. So there are a lot of questions coming in as to why that's happened. But basically at this point, we are waiting for RFPs to go out to do all of the text, image, and mock-up, all the work basically on the signage that's going to go around the mound. But we're waiting. The city has to send stuff out. Jeff Chamberlain said he's thinking that will happen pretty soon. There will be press releases coordinated with the tribe for still intending for that August 29th event at the mound led by the tribe for the Treaty of Chicago anniversary. And I have a lot of work to do. No, we're doing some kind of general text reviewing. The tribe's language department is working on making sure that any references basically to like grandmother and grandfather stones that are going to be planted around the mound are actually in Potawatomi. And I guess their language department is working through right now because, as an oral language that wasn't written down, lots of different spellings. So they're working off of the Wisconsin Potawatomi spelling for things. So that will be included in the signs as well. And yeah, we're figuring out our next meeting.
Any questions or comments? Fred?
I have a comment. I was down at Bronson Park for the 4th of July weekend Kalamazoo Symphony program that they ran. And a couple people had their lawn chairs up on that mound for a good view. And something struck a chord with me that was not the right thing to do.
Yeah, there's basically at this point we're waiting because the signs will include basically cordoning off of the mound along with statements reminding people to be respectful. But it doesn't seem like, I don't know, Jeff was meeting with the county right after our meeting. So it didn't seem like they wanted to jump on putting up temporary things that would be taken down the second they start doing plantings. So there seems to be it's an unfortunate waiting game that it seems like we're playing. But the city is well aware, the tribe has been dealing with it for centuries. So that's unfortunately nothing new for them. But yeah, that is going to be worked in. Of course, that doesn't really solve the fact that people are people. So I don't know what the reaction will be once things are actually in place. But I think the general hope is that between the plantings that are going to kind of create a border, like a deeper border around the mound, and then the signs themselves, that there will be a raising of awareness that'll keep those sorts of things from happening. But yeah.
Just before you're going to have it, no, there's nothing that told them, please stay off the mound at sacred site.
No, and that's part of some of the stuff that we're working through for the August deadline is I think the city was a little hesitant to tell people what was happening until the RFPs actually went out so that they had finalized what could actually happen. So I think that once that is kind of in motion, that our subcommittee will be creating language that will be easily used for anybody who is doing that. And you're right, though, Fred, it should probably, Kristen Cheswick, who's the director of the Arts Council, is on our committee. So for anything going on in the park, that language could, after the tribe goes through and approves it, could get into the hands of people who are going to be consistently in the park and, talking to folks during events in the park. So, yeah. It's happening. It I know for those who have been working on it since, 2003 or 2005-ish, it probably feels very slow or even further back, but it feels like it's moving fast and faster than we expected following the pandemic and kind of how everything kind of screeched to a halt with work. So
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
what I got.
Thank you. Historic preservation programs and the O'Connor Fund. Pam, grant making.
Yeah, even though there's been a lot of work on Lost and Found and finishing that project, I have managed to knock out some stuff, some drafts for the grant fund committee when it meets again. And I just wanted to give you an update on what those are. So I have finished a draft for grant application. It is, I think, a one-size-fits-all now for those of you who are on the committee. And you'll see it as soon as I get around to you next week and try to set up a meeting date and time. I think it's really pretty simple, a lot simpler than it was when we started. Ordinance language. The city attorney challenged your existing ordinance and what it does, and suggested that we include something that specifically talks about gifts that we may make to nonprofit entities to do home repairs.
Mhm.
So I've drafted some language for that for the committee to look at. Still to do for that is to prepare a memo that makes the case for changing that ordinance. But the city attorneys did that pretty well. All I have to do is, put that together. In terms of gifts, specifically for home repair, I have a draft complete that makes a recommendation that we work with a specific nonprofit, as discussed before, to do those home repairs. And I have prepared a draft letter of agreement for that gift. And then in that regard, we also I have to prepare a proposal that the O'Connor Fund formally support Kalamazoo context studies, if you will, that are related specifically to the work that the commission plans to do on BIPOC and women's history and those kinds of things, or as Sharon likes to call it, the Marker Project, it could be one or both. But the beauty in making an O'Connor Fund to help support that is that if we can get the State Historic Preservation Office to partner with us, I believe they come to the project with some money as well.
That's what I understand. Yeah.
And that would mean that subcommittee members from the Preservation Commission they would not have to take time from their jobs to go out and start interviewing people. We would be able to hire a team of professionals who do this on a regular basis to prepare the report for us.
Mhm.
So there are 3 or 4 things done and 2 that are still left to be done. And as soon as I whip together the drafts, I'll be back to the committee about that.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Any questions for Pam? Okay. Item 2, the Old House Owners Workshops. This is item D in your packet. So OHAL.
A quick update.
Mhm.
In addition to the very short written report.
Sorry, item C in the packet. My apologies. Item C in the packet.
Yeah. Item C in the packet. Yes. In addition to that, a very quick update. The last episode is now up and viewable on the Public Media Network's website, and it will go up on the KPL's, or is planned to go up on the library's website this coming Saturday.
Okay, good. Anything else for OHAL?
Not specifically for OHAL, But because since it's no longer an action and discussion item, I wanted to mention this. I had a meeting yesterday with KVCC
Mhm.
and with Peter Carroll to
Mhm.
talk about our very first actual hands-on class in window rehab. We worked out a lot of details. It's going to happen in either January or February, and it'll be aimed at people that do maintenance on old houses, like landlords, maintenance people, at not at homeowners, because we're going to schedule it during the business day. So that just made more sense for us. And so also aiming it at contractors who are already working on old houses who just want to add a skill set, and it's going to be concentrating on getting the bottom sash working properly and well again. So it's not going to be a whole window. I mean, a really good big window workshop is 3 to 4 days.
Mhm.
So this is going to be just concentrating on that skill set. And I've already had one landlord both volunteer a place to hold the workshop if she has an empty unit, and she wants to send 2 people.
Great.
That's great.
So I think this is something we're not going to have too much trouble figuring out. Like I said, we're aiming at January or February. We are looking for a site that would be available that has electricity and a working bathroom in one of those time periods. And it's kind of hard to tie down too far in advance, but I'm going to be talking to people. If any of you get leads and say, well, so-and-so's got an empty house that's got electricity and everything, and needs some window work, it needs to be carrying liability insurance. So for the KVCC to be happy actually having a workshop there. We're not going to be doing anything dangerous, no fire, no power tools. It's all going to be, real simple stuff. And our fallback, if we can't find anything else, will be the Sexton's Lodge. But I'd really like to find a more realistic, challenging place than the Sexton's Lodge, because so much work has already been done there.
Mhm.
So that's really good news. Our first actual class is going to be really, really nice.
That's great. Pam.
How are you planning to reach out to this group of people that you want to attend?
Well, once we get Amy is working on the learning objectives and the class description. We are going. It'll be going out. It'll go all the places that the college already uses,
Amy
and then I'm
Schmidt.
going to send it out directly to. I'm going to send it out directly to the Landlords Association. I can put something in we do a semi-annual newsletter for all the landlords through the city. I can put it in there. That'll go to all the landlords. We're only going to have 12 spaces, and I don't think it's going to be too hard to fill those spaces up.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Sharon, the survey, no update, no change?
Not really. No, I've been really super hyper busy with a whole bunch of other things.
Okay.
So, and with summer and people getting a project, they panic. I need to get this approved now.
Right.
So, and I tell them to slow down. So,
Kyle, no report on the cemetery project?
Not really. Sharon, did you still want to meet tomorrow, was it?
I would love to. If it is not raining cats and dogs, which I think is kind of a 50-50 shot right now tomorrow night. If anybody's interested, Kyle and I want to walk the cemetery and look at some of the stones, and especially I've got some pink flags that the folks at Public Works gave me that we can plant in front of the markers that we would like to clean. And then I'd like to schedule a cleaning day sometime in August or September. So this give us a chance to kind of acquaint ourselves with the with what's there, what needs to be done, because the team, I don't know if I mentioned it last month, but the team that's been working through Public Services has moved or shifted over 1,000 gravestones.
Okay.
And the Diane, who's the gal that I was working with, she said that they couldn't figure out how to set up some of the smaller ones, but they wanted to set them up again and they wouldn't stand up on their own. So they used Gorilla caulk.
Gorilla glue?
Yeah, but it's the caulk. It's kind of thick and gummy, okay?
Yeah.
And so I ran that past my resident masonry expert, Blair Bates, and said, is that okay? And he said, yeah, that's probably a really good choice. It's totally removable and it do the job temporarily. And yeah. It's
Okay.
better than have it laying face down on the grass. So,
Yeah. Okay.
Like- so we've got kind of, so what time do you want to do it, Kyle? About 6:30?
Works.
Okay. So
Okay.
if anybody's interested, meet us at 6:30 at the Sexton's Lodge. Plenty of parking in the cemetery, and we'll just kind of walk around and maybe plant some flags.
Okay. And then for the cleaning, you're going to want to have that as an agenda item. for-
Yes, we're gonna have to pick a date. And I'm guessing, that it may actually be in September, just because the way the summer seems to be moving along at a gallop.
Okay.
In fact, we sat on our butts all last year. And now this year we got to get 2 summers worth of stuff in.
Right.
So
Okay. Regina, no report on Preservation Month? Okay. No report for designation and sites? And Sharon, do you have anything on sustainability, or is this still postponed to
No.
September? Okay.
I've been having trouble with all the stuff is on my other computer, and I've been having trouble with my UPS, so
Oh.
I don't dare turn it on
Fair.
just now.
Fair. Okay. So operations, that's me. You're going to next month want to have an agenda item for the Preservation Commission board itself to create a subgroup for that. You're going to want to have an agenda item to begin working on the market program, whatever y'all want to call it. And y'all are going to want to replace me, because at the rate we're going, I'm done in about 20-30 minutes here. So that's all I have. I don't have anything else. So moving on to old and new business. Item D, this is item D now in the packet, the end of the project for Kalamazoo Lost and Found. Pam.
I have a couple of things to add to that as well. Thank you, Josh.
You're welcome.
So we have succeeded in replacing some images from the book that we could not access originals for through the good efforts of our very own Regina Gorham and Keith Howard at the library. Keith particularly has been a really good heavy lifter on this one. He's found a lot. We had 9 to work with, and we have found replacement images for 8 of those. And the last one is, as far as I know, unobtainable. Both of the people who owned the private collection have passed. And I'm not going to start tracking down their descendants to see if they have this one image. So we're going to let that one go. I went back and checked today and made sure that we've backtracked and gotten everything done that we thought we were supposed to do. And we believe we have. I'm pretty sure we have, especially these last couple of months chasing after images and stuff. So on to Keith now. Peter, I have one more job from Peter in this envelope. There is a flash drive with what we think is the almost final. And the only thing I have to do is go back and compare those 8 screened images to the ones that we had the first time around and make sure, in fact, that there's a good improvement. Peter tells me there is, and I trust him, but we both agreed that it needed another set of eyes. So when that happens, then Peter is going to send the final to Keith and I, and then Keith is now working, he's switched gears and is working with the IT people at the library to put it up on a viewer, which is different from a typical PDF. And what a viewer will allow us to do is to show the 20 some odd 2-page spreads like an open book, where photographs, text doesn't cross the gutter, but photographs do, in about the high 20s. And so the library's been working on getting some software up and running to do that for quite a while. Keith thinks they're really, really close, and they may use us or Lost and Found as a guinea pig. We'll see. So that really is the last step in that regard. The thing that I need your action on right now, unless there are questions about that process.
there any questions or comments about the first portion?
No. Okay.
Let's move on to the draft letter.
Right. Right. If you would approve the language, other than the part which has to be determined because we don't know what first of all, we don't know if we're going to give books to city employees yet or not, and when.
I've heard nothing back, so I'd say I've heard nothing back, and even with a couple of nudges, so I say let's just cross that one off.
Well, great then. If you can approve the draft language and trust me to plug in the correct inventory numbers,
Well,
I can then go back to Gloria.
What I would propose is that whoever makes the motion, pending specific numbers of hardcover and softcover books, so pending those exact figures, approve the proposed language in the draft letter. That would be the suggestion that I would make for the commission to kind of make the motion. But has everybody had a chance to read the draft language of the letter?
I was wondering whether, rather than have the question of one partial case, could you just send those 2 partial cases over to my office, and then all we'd be giving Gloria and Kazoo books? I will pick them up.
No, it's not the movement. It's the record keeping that's required just to move 10 or 12 books.
Gotcha.
So I will put exact numbers down.
Perfect.
At the time, but Gloria wants them in case numbers as well.
Okay.
So
I just thought it might make it easier if you just did.
Yeah, no, it takes 20 to 30 minutes to do the bookkeeping just for moving.
Okay.
Yeah. Josh, if the motion goes forward as you have proposed, do I need to come back again next month for approval of the number of books?
No,
I don't think so. Or, we can just.
I hope not.
We can just strike the number of books from the language as well. I mean.
Well, the thing, you can do a motion to accept the proposal as written with a report to the commission next month on what the precise number was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
May I also suggest as well that since giving books to city employees was on the agenda for so long, that we formally take that off of the agenda in this motion somehow?
We absolutely can. So the proposal is to approve the draft language in the letter once the number of books is calculated. There will be a report at an upcoming meeting, and to remove from the table the proposal to give books to city employees.
Thanks, Josh.
You're welcome. So I'm going to call for a motion.
I will. Oh,
Catherine?
You say so moved, or should I repeat it?
So moved is fine.
Okay, great. So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Fred, is there any discussion? Okay, so this deals with money, so we need to do a roll call vote. Fred?
Aye.
Kyle?
Aye.
Regina?
Aye.
Catherine?
Aye.
Lene?
Aye.
And I vote aye. The motion passed.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, moving on to item B, section 106, and this is item E in your packet. Sharon, section 106 time.
There it is. Well, that's the report. We have had quite a lot of section 106 projects going on compared to the previous year, if you look at my report on the coordinator's report. So, and it's a lot of stuff that's outside any current historic district or potential historic district. The folks that are doing the survey in Edison have completed the photography.
Excellent.
So they're just moving on to the next step. So this may change when we get the new survey in because we'll have more precise information on a lot more houses.
Right.
So.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Sharon about section 106 in the report? No? Pam, I saw you had your hand up.
Yeah, but it's not about section 106. It's not about that part of the report. It's about she mentioned that she was going to make a verbal report somewhere on the city hall.
Yeah, are you, Sharon, are you going to do that in commissioner's report?
Yeah, in the coordinators report, that's right.
Coordinators report?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, can we save it for then, Pam?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool. And item C, the question to meet in August or not meet in August. For those of you who are new, sometimes in the past, the commission has taken a summer break in August. Sometimes we've chosen to meet. Other times when there hasn't been a lot going on, we have taken a break in August. So this needs to be voted on, right? But I'm going to leave this discussion up to you all, right? Do you want to meet in August or not meet in August? So discuss, and somebody needs to make a motion to meet or not meet. Somebody needs, you know how it works. So y'all talk. You want to meet in August or not meet in August? Because I am not going to meet in August.
You're not just gonna tune in.
Nope.
That was quick.
Nope. I'm
And,
taking a break for a bit. Then I'll make, then I'll call in with comments or whatever.
Every citizen comment is just Josh.
Yeah, I can see Andy saying, Josh is calling again.
Right. Right.
Does anybody have specific feelings?
I don't, in looking at the report so far of the agenda, I'm not seeing anything that's pressing that we need to discuss. Everything seems to be kind of resolving itself for right now. I just don't see a reason that I think we could take a break because we've been meeting consistently every month. So that's just my opinion.
Yeah, and we do want to get started on the marker program and stuff, but I think this will give everybody a chance to kind of think it over, and we can appoint the subcommittee at our September meeting and just get running with the, beginning of the fall.
Pam.
This doesn't address your meeting or not meeting, but a subcommittee for the marker program or whatever we talked about. Since we already have some people that are doing the designation part of the work plan, wouldn't it be a natural thing, Fred and Catherine, for the two of you to kind of be the beginning of a subcommittee, maybe?
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I think some guidance, and I don't know if there's other people who would want to join the subcommittee. What is the rule about subcommittee?
It has to be a sub-quorum.
Okay.
So there could be no more than 3 commissioners on the subcommittee. We could recruit people from outside the commission to assist us, but it can be no more than 3 actual appointed commissioners.
Right.
And you don't count, Sharon, correct?
No, I don't. No, I don't have a vote. I don't count.
I didn't think so, but I wanted to check. Okay. Yeah, is there anybody else who would want to be on that subcommittee?
I would like to join you for a little while,
Okay.
if I may.
And this is for the marker?
Yes.
Markers and or context statements or whatever it comes out to be eventually, I think,
Yes.
under designation.
Trying
Can
to
I be
resist
one of
my urge to jump. Oh, go ahead, Lene.
Lene?
Sorry.
No, I talked over you. Sorry.
Dorla said we should have committees where people can stop in and stop out. Can I be one of those? Where I come every now and again? I can't commit every meeting is my point.
I see this committee being something, where we're probably gonna have a fairly intense beginning where we decide what we want to do and what the process will be. And once those decisions are made and we're ready to start rolling with the program, then we will not need as many people. But I think having the input of at least 3 commissioners when we get this started will be very important to making sure that it's something that, that's going to be viable and that we all have a little bit of a hand in. Because we'll discuss it at the full commission meetings as well. This will not be just something that'll be decided in committee and then just started up. We're going to be discussing it in committee or, in both. So yeah, I think this would be a good example of one where we don't necessarily need you to come to every single meeting. And we might be able to do them Zoomish like this. You wouldn't have to, it'd be nice to get together in person. I would really enjoy getting together in person and talking over some ideas, but I don't think it would necessarily be that we do. And one of the things that Regina and I had been talking about is possibly inviting Michelle Johnson to come to our September meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can. I've been emailing with her because she got the days mixed up and then couldn't remember what months I had asked her about. So she was already a little. She's got a lot going on. But yeah, I can talk with her about looking towards September.
So for that meeting,
to rein it back in, are you all meeting in August or not?
I motion that we don't meet in August.
I second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I'm abstaining. Motion passes though.
Unpopular to oppose that.
What's that?
It'd be unpopular to oppose that.
It would just be mean. It would just, it wouldn't have any effect. It would just be like, curmudgeonly. If no, you must meet.
You must work.
Right? Okay.
Maybe we could meet on Fred's back patio and start talking about some of our ideas for the DEI program on this day instead.
Sure.
Item 10, approval of meeting notes from June 9th. Did anybody see anything or have any corrections? I didn't see anything the first time around, but.
In 8A4, it looks like there was no ending to a sentence.
8A4. Oh, yeah, good catch.
He's my proofreader. There's one on every commission. Every time I've had one, there's always been one person that's
Thank God.
because I can only read it so many times and I just don't see it anymore. So I will correct that. Gun Lake Band will. Oh yeah, wasn't it supposed? Huh.
It's probably that there's going to be a ceremony, formal ceremony and blessing of the mound. Or, I don't want to write your words for you, but that would be the topic.
That sounds exactly like what I was thinking of. And it is done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other corrections? Is there a motion to approve as amended?
Move to approve as amended.
Second? I'll second. All in favor? Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? All right, motion passes. Coordinators report. Sharon,
What did I say? I don't know.
item G in the packet.
Well, I did, of course, one of the big thing is that as of tomorrow, the First Baptist Church will be a single resource local historic district because it takes effect 10 days after the city commission approves. So I haven't heard, I made sure that both, Pastor Nichols and Dan knew that And they don't have anything that's like hanging fire right now, which is good because we don't have an HDC meeting next week. So we're good with that. And that's why I put the picture up there, just so you could see that. Just very, very nice. Commissioner Pradel said some very nice things about Pam's work on the report too. So,
He did.
so that's my report. That's it.
Wait, no, it's not.
Oh, sorry about that. Work is going to start on the Coney Island building momentarily. So that is going to be, eventually that'll be taken off of our list in terms of not yet being rehabbed. So that's, for those of you who don't know, the second page of the coordinators report with all the yellow on it, that used to be over 24 buildings. And now it's down to 17 because they've been slated for rehab. We have a proposal for the former modern non-contributing building next to Memories Bridal. That's beginning to work its way through the city. So that one may also be, redeveloped soon. So it's just, we're doing it. And putting that historic emphasis on the town, I think really got people looking at it a little bit more closely. Pam, we've got we can go ahead and do the report on City Hall. And then once it's done, then we will present it to people and have them make a decision whether they want to go further.
Yeah, I don't think we were asking for permission, but I was just curious about the feedback.
Oh, it's like, let's go ahead and start the process and then just see where it goes from there. And I'm still talking to, I haven't had a chance to meet the new director of the Civic, but I was talking to the temporary director and he thought it'd be kind of an interesting idea that he'd like to bring up to their board. And I said, so I want to see if I can schedule a time to speak to the board of directors about possibly getting the Civic listed, because I mean, that's one of the gems of downtown Kalamazoo. So.
Great. I'll get started.
Okay.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pam.
And the brick. Okay, this is the sample. If we'd been meeting in person,
what is brick?
But this is what I was talking about last month about having things that could be marked in a small way. Like if I wanted to put one out in front of my house that this says, this is the Lewis and Maud Crockett house built in 1914. I could get a brick like this printed and engraved and just set it in my front yard or something like that. I mean, so I wanted to have samples of other types of marking that are going on around the country so that we're not just necessarily thinking about, 6 foot tall cast aluminum signs, that it can be something a little bit more humble, perhaps, depending on what the site is. So
that name Lewis Crockett sounds very familiar, but
he was an architect for the Upjohn Company.
That's what I thought. He worked on the Kahn building.
He didn't design it, but he was definitely one of the main people to.
And he had the best office in the building.
Of course he did.
It's incredible. Anyway, sorry. Thank you.
And they lived in my house, and Maud had the Spanish flu while he was away in New York on some business for Upjohn. And was hospitalized.
Did she die?
Nope. She was okay, but she was hospitalized.
Whew.
So
interesting.
Any questions for Sharon? Okay. Citizen comments on non-agenda items. Are there any citizen comments at this time?
Quick question.
No.
No. Pam, hold on.
Oh, sorry.
Are there any citizen comments at this point in time?
No, there are no citizens' comments at this time.
Okay, thank you. Pam, go ahead.
I apologize.
That's all right.
Was Tanessa that we met tonight? Did Tanessa used to work in the city manager's office?
Oh yeah.
That's how I know her.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
All right.
That's all I had. Organized. She asks all the questions and makes sure that it's practical.
Yeah.
I like her.
Okay, commissioner comments. Any commissioner comments? Okay, I have a comment. I want to thank you all. It's been great working with you over the past several years, especially Sharon and Pam. Thank you. Like, we've worked together a whole lot now. I've enjoyed it, and it's been an honor to serve the city of Kalamazoo. Like, I wish you all the best, and you got a lot to do, but you're doing cool stuff. So thank you. Thank you.
I just wish we were meeting in person so we could go out for a beer afterwards.
Right?
2 beers?
2 beers?
Yeah.
I'm there.
Thank you, Josh. It's been good to work with you as well.
I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it.
Thanks for running the meetings really smoothly.
I try to be efficient. I try to be efficient.
Yeah.
Any other comments?
But thank you also. I'm learning. I'm still learning. I'm still, I'm still in diapers. But good luck to you in Massachusetts.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion to adjourn Josh's last meeting.
Meeting adjourned. Meeting adjourned. All right.
Good luck, Josh.
Take care, Josh.
And we'll be in touch. We'll stay in touch. So,
Good.
but y'all take care and enjoy your August break as well. So,
Thank you.
all right. Take care.
Thank you, Josh.
Bye.
Bye.